Hello, friends and fellow adventurers. Thank you for joining me again in today's video. We are doing our session 10 video. We are continuing the adventures of Zargo. So, in our last video, Zargo got back to the skull with the guard behind her to make the arrest of Amari, which did not turn out how we thought it was going to. And instead, Amari was not there, and also Vega, who was supposed to go and keep tabs on Amari while Zargo went to fetch the guards. Well, they are guards too, but they were off duty that night, so they needed a guard to make an official arrest, blah, 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 blah. Regardless, neither of them were there. She got a small tip that Amari did leave that night with a hooded figure kind of escorting him out the door at knife point. But Zargo failed at her investigation roll to see any evidence of where they went or anything. So Zargo kind of hung it up for the night. She went back home. She got some well-needed sleep. And the next day she went, or that would be today, the current day, moon day of the week. She went, sold a couple items, and bought some heavy armor finally. So she is now armored properly, like she should have been in the beginning, but money didn't allow it at character creation. So now she does have a full set of heavy plate armor, and that is where we ended our last session. Pretty uneventful, and this one is probably going to turn out to be slightly equally not action-packed, I should say, because I'm thinking what we're going to do today. Zargo has the day off. She spent her morning shopping. Now she has a lot of day left. So she bought her beautiful plate armor, but something is weighing on her mind. When she was in that dungeon and she took all that damage, she was cut in the arm and she was stabbed directly in the chest, and she saw her blood pouring out into her hands, and she felt something inside of her other than the tip of a sword. She felt something primal, something she hasn't felt since that day on the beach when that animal attacked her. This feeling just felt so familiar, and it reminded her of that day. And seeing the blood in her hands and the steam coming up, she could feel the loss of control over her own body. Now the rest of it was a blur. She didn't have like full consciousness, like an outer body experience or anything like that, but she knows that there was a feeling there. And from what Vega described to her after she came to, she has some questions, and she knows exactly where she's going to go to ask these questions. Now, I've stated before that she has a relatively close association with her parents. I'm just kind of thinking that she does. So we're going to stick with that. So as she was growing up, her mother, again, if you remember back to our character creation, if you haven't saw that video, please go back and check that out. We rolled a bunch of random words and everything. And for her personality, we rolled 2 words, weak and superstitious. And at the time, I wasn't really sure what to do with those, so I kind of fumbled around with them, and I just came up with this idea of a family curse. So we're going with that, and that ended up coming up on a roll, and that's where we ended up with her kind of like, spilling blood, steaming, everything I just explained. So while she was growing up, her mother would kind of like say a lot of superstitious stuff, like, throw salt over your shoulder, cliche things like that. Don't walk under a ladder. If you see a black cat, go the other way. And growing up with this just constant superstition, mostly from her mother. Her father was not as superstitious as the mother was. So growing up with this, Zargo has little like quirks and things she does, superstitious related. Like she keeps her first coin, which was given to her by her mother, in her left boot, under the insole, as good luck. I'm sure she has like the equivalent of like a rabbit's foot or a four-leaf clover somewhere in one of her belt pouches, and lots of little things like this. But her mother was never upfront, kind of like with why this was or anything. So Zargo, she's gonna go and talk to her parents about this, more specifically her mother. So, all that out of the way, we're already 6 minutes in the video, and I've just been jabberjawing. My first question for today's video is going to be: is her mother retired? Like, is she like at home all the time now? And I'm gonna make that. Is her mother retired? I'm gonna make that likely, and we are back up to a chaos factor 5. Now, again, every time I bring up chaos factor, it reminds me we need to start a scene. This is going to be our new scene. Question mother, I guess, just for a quick scene. Sure. Question mother about curse. It's gonna be scene number 6. We already adjusted our chaos factor, so we don't need to worry about that, because I think Zargo was very much not in control of the last session of arresting Amari, because obviously she didn't arrest Amari, so she couldn't have been in much control, right? So, chaos factor 5, scene. We need to roll to test the scene to see whether it's going to continue as expected or not. Chaos factor 5, and it is a 5. Oh man, another altered scene. So far, I think it's always been altered. It has not been interrupted, and I think maybe one time it has continued as expected. So this scene is going to be altered. We'll roll in the characters table, because this is where she's asking her mom about this curse and everything. I feel like that's very characteristically accurate. So, altered scene. How is the scene altered? 45. Glad. And expected. Okay, so this scene's basically going to turn out how she's expected, except her mother's glad to see her. That's the alternate, or maybe. Okay, we'll roll with this. All right, so we'll go back to our original question that spawned all of this side tangent here. Is Zargo's mother retired? I'm gonna say likely. Chaos factor 5. Zargo's mother retired. 44 random event. What? Okay, a lot of rolling going on in this video. I thought it was gonna be, pretty uneventful, but maybe I'm wrong. 44, so that is going to be a yes. Her mother is retired, which is going to be good, but random event. What is the event focus of this random event? As she's on her way to see her mother. Is it 25? Yes, it is. 25 is going to be an NPC action. All right, that's the first time we've had a roll on our NPC list. So we're going to roll on that. So we have a D4 to see which column we're rolling in off the bat. All right, so D4, that's going to be, I hate D4s. So the bottom column, so Zargo's parents is not one of the options. And then we're going to roll a D8 to see which one of these it's going to be. A 7. Drew the bodyguard. Okay. He takes an action. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to directly affect what Zargo is doing, but he's gonna this is the dwarf that we arrested and put in the jail cell, and he's gonna take an action. Now, again, I'm gonna do some more rolling. I know. Bear with me. What action is he gonna take? 08. Attack. Oh no. Okay. Attack. And 28. Expectation. Attack. Expectation. I think I know, actually. Let me reword that. He is getting attacked. Someone is coming in and they're offing him while he's in this jail cell, so he can't spill any beans or say anything. So while that's what I would expect to happen. He is being attacked. He's not. Because at first I was thinking, oh, maybe he like calls the jailer over and does the cliche, oh hey, come close to the jail cell, and then he attacks the jailer and he gets out. But I'm thinking the opposite. I'm thinking someone comes in to pay him a visit, and he doesn't survive that visit. So I think they're gonna find him dead in his jail cell. I think that's what that is. All right, so that's the random event. Zargo's gonna make her way to her parents' house, where she knows her mom is because her mother is retired. And she's gonna knock on the door. Her mother answers, welcomes her inside. So, to what do I owe the visit, Zargo? Well, Mom, I just come by to really check in on you and see how you were doing. But, well, I'm sure you can read it in my face. I do have a question. All growing up and everything, you were very superstitious all the time, and you kind of made it seem as if there was a reason for it. And, well, to tell you the truth, last night, while I was on guard duty, some things happened and I ended up losing a lot of blood. And I was on the verge of dying, but something inside of me stirred. I almost awakened. And I don't know how to explain the feeling. But I have felt this feeling one other time when I was a child and I was attacked by that creature down by the shore, and it left me with all these scars. That was the other time that I felt this. And I just got to ask, do you know anything about this? And I'm not even going to roll to ask if she knows, because I know for sure she knows. But I don't even know if I want to roll. She's gonna I think she's gonna admit it. I'm almost certain she's gonna admit it. Yep, she's just gonna admit it. I want to progress this story a little bit, and I want to stop baby-footing around it. Okay, so her mother kind of like lets out a big sigh. Yeah, Zargo, I believe it's time that I told you. I was told this by my mother, and her mother before her. But there's a curse that runs in our family. And the first-born daughter in every generation is stricken with this curse. There's something inside of us. I'm not even sure how to really approach this, because I don't even fully know what this is. I do have a fate question. Has her mother, because this is something that really only manifests when they're really low on health, like on the verge of dying. It's kind of like a self-preservation kind of instinct that awakens. Has her mother ever been close to death and had this curse activate? Maybe she just knows that she is cursed, but she's never really witnessed it. So that's what I'm going to ask the fate chart. Has her mother ever experienced this curse personally? Now, I don't know. I know she wasn't a fighter in her back when they were in the orc tribe, before they moved here. So I'm going to say it's unlikely. Has her mother ever experienced this curse? Unlikely. Chaos factor 5. That is a 0.6. That is an extreme yes. Yeah, that's an extreme yes. So her mother has experienced this. Probably more than once. Maybe her mother... Okay, here's one more question I'm going to ask. Whether or not she tells Zargo this, just so we know, does her mother have the ability to control her curse? And with that extreme yes, I'm going to say this is very likely. Does her mother have the ability to control her curse? 44! Oh, that's another random event, and the answer is yes. So her mother has full control over this curse, but what makes it a curse? Well, that'll be something for another video. We're already getting to that 30-minute mark, and I like to stop my videos at the 30-minute mark. But one more random event. Man, that's 2 random events this session. I like it. I love random events. So, random event number 2. What is the event focus of this new random event while she is sitting in her mother's house, well, her parents' house, speaking to her mother? All right, event focus of this random event 45, an NPC negative. Okay, NPC negative. I don't like the way D4s roll, the little triangle ones. They just don't roll right, in my opinion. So I like to roll a D8 and just cut it in half. So, anyway, this is technically a D4 roll. So that is going to be a 2, technically. So that's going to be in the top column. And then we need a D10 for this roll. Now, which NPC gets the NPC negative? That's 8. That's Vega. Okay, so Vega is not currently with us, but something negative is happening to Vega. Now, Vega is our other PC. Let's roll to find out what's happening to Vega. So NPC negative for Vega. What is the nature of this action? 41. Escape. Oh no, I already know what this is going to be because of what I already know she's doing. Escape and attention. Now, what I think was going on, or actually what I know was going on, what I decided when Vega did not meet us at the bar, because we were going to go there to arrest this gnomish man named Amari, who was the one in charge of taking the assassin contracts and all that. There's a lot we don't know about Vega, and a lot I think I do know about Vega. I think she's working. There's rebels on the north part of this island who are really against what's happening inside the City of Promise. Because inside the City of Promise, it's for anybody that doesn't know or hasn't watched my other videos, this is canon from Pathfinder lore. But the Golden Dragon Mankare is trying to perfect the human race, more or less. So he is very selective with the people he allows inside the city. Religion is banned. There's a lot of questionable stuff going on here. And there are rebels on the northern part of the island. Now, that's all the canon parts, but parts I'm going with is Vega's working with the rebels in some degree. We don't know what degree. But Amari, he's not. He's just another evil entity working within the city. But anyway, long story short, Vega took Amari because I think she's been searching for Amari for different reasons. So she took him out of the bar that night instead of meeting us there. And she has Amari with her. So escape and attention. I'm thinking that Amari escaped her since she took him with her. So that is the NPC negative that's going on there. I'm just going to keep a side note of that, and we will get to that later. Back to what we were talking about with the curse and her mom. Her mother is able to control her curse. So she has kineticist powers as well. And she has been on the verge of dying at least more than once that we know of. So she explains this to Zargo. And she explains the times when she was close to death and how her first time felt when she first experienced the sensation of whatever's inside of them. But she also warns Zargo that when these events happen, sometimes you can't control the power, and that she's been working for years and years with it, and she is just now being able to even harness it a little bit, but it is still such a raw and unyielding power that it's kind of like trying to catch lightning in a bottle. But Zargo's going to ask her the nature of the curse. Like, but Mom, do you know of anything else? Where does it come from? Where can I find more answers? Perhaps there could be a way to stop it, or a better way to harness it. And we're going to roll on the curse table just to see if we can get any more information about this curse. Now we know that it allows the ability to manipulate elements, and we did roll for she's a fire kineticist. That's Zargo's ability, but I'm thinking it's different for everybody. So I'm thinking her mother's is different than hers. I want to see what element her mother has. Okay, so we got air, earth, then fire. So, oh, there's only 6 options. Not 8. Duh. 4. So her mother is a metal bender. Okay, cool. So her mother has the ability to bend metal. I like it. Okay, and her mother explains this to her during the story. But we were gonna roll. I know I'm doing a lot of rolling, but really, I was just saying I like the dice telling the stories. So let's see if we can figure out a little more about this curse, maybe where it comes from, what these words can give us. Dominate. Well, that actually makes a lot of sense. The power dominates, which is what we were just discussing. Whoever it is using it. Is that another 8? No, it's 3. I say 83. So dominate and peace. Okay. I like that. You know, I can work with that. So her mother, as she's explaining it to her, this doesn't help me figure out where it came from. We can figure that out. We got plenty of time in the future. But her mother is explaining to her how she was able to even begin to harness. She tells her that the curse, it begins to dominate you. And as that feeling of domination begins to wash over you, you just have to find that place of peace, of mind, and calmness in the center of the storm, and focus on the peace. And that is where you can really harness your power. And she kind of like demonstrates her ability to lift some cutlery off the kitchen table where they're sitting, and kind of like bends it, and she can like reshape the fork into a spoon and things like that. And her eyes glow, but just barely, ever so faintly, and then she places it back down on the table without ever even touching it. And Zargo is just like in shock of what she's seeing. She's lived with her mother this whole time, and her mother's never mentioned this. And now that she's thinking back to her childhood, there are times when things happened that she wouldn't have thought about, like something getting ready to fall, but her mother catches it. But she couldn't ever understand how her mother was able to get there that fast, or prevent this from happening, or how she's able to like maintain the father's weapons and armor, because he is a guard, and she would always be the one to like bang out the dents in the armor or sharpen the blade. And now that it's making sense to Zargo, that because her mother is able to manipulate metal. So she's having a lot of these revelations from her childhood. And so she finishes up talking to her mother, and she's feeling a lot better about this as she kind of leaves her mother's house. She didn't get answers as to where it came from, but her mother kind of put her on the path to not enlightenment, but to controlling whatever this is inside of them. And maybe one day she will be able to harness it and channel it herself. She doesn't. Zargo doesn't know right now that she is a fire bender, for lack of a better word, fire kineticist. Because in our session when it came up, it just kind of like it sparked inside of her. She didn't control it, and at the time she was only level 1, so she didn't even technically have the power. So I was taking that as it's just like starting to awaken inside of her. So she doesn't even know she's firebender. So as far as she knows, she's thinking she's a metal kineticist. So I'm thinking she's gonna go home and like kind of reflect on this a little bit, and she's gonna like pick up a fork off her table and like kind of start trying to like bend the spoon with her mind kind of thing. But obviously nothing comes of it. And that is where we're gonna end today's session. And I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream too. But that was really fun. I was thinking that was going to be a really boring episode, and actually turned out to be, first of all, two random events, and a lot of information. So, yeah, I'm going to stop while I got a little bit of momentum. Thank you, everybody, for watching and stream and chatting in chat. This was a really fun night. So, hopefully, I can catch you all again and see you in the next video. Goodbye, friends.